Have you ever met someone and felt like they weren't just another person? Hold on. I'm not talking about butterflies in your stomach or that usual spark from a first date. I'm talking about something way weirder. A glance that freezes time. A silence that says more than hours of conversation. That crazy feeling like you already knew them, even though you've never met. Sounds wild, right? Maybe even overly romantic. But what if I told you there's actually a real explanation for that? Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, called it synchronicity. It's not magic, not some fairy tale version of fate. It's when the outer world starts echoing what's going on inside you, when random events feel like they have a hidden purpose. Before we dive deeper, let me ask you a quick favor. If this kind of reflection speaks to you, hit subscribe. That way we can keep bringing these thoughts that maybe, just maybe, you didn't know you needed to hear. All right, let's get into it. Picture this. You're rushing through a regular day. Deadlines, stress, traffic. Everything feels like copy-paste. And then out of nowhere you bump into someone. Nothing special. Until something about them grabs your attention. It's not what they say. Not how they dress. It's something older. Like your souls recognized each other before your eyes ever did. 2. Intense. Maybe. But if you felt this, you know exactly what I mean. Here's where it gets interesting. Jung believed these meaningful coincidences, these synchronicities, aren't just luck. They're like little messages from the unconscious, trying to wake you up. That whole "the universe sends signs" idea? It's not just some new age fluff. It's rooted in deep psychology. And now comes the question we all want answered. How do you know if the universe is really trying to bring you and someone together, or if it's just loneliness dressed up as destiny? This is where things start to get real. First, you've got to understand something. The universe doesn't yell. It whispers. These signs don't come with flashing neon lights. They're subtle, quiet, but powerful enough to keep you up at night. One of the most common signs, that strange, overwhelming sense of familiarity with someone you just met, like remembering a dream you never actually had. Then it starts. You think about them, and seconds later they text you. You open Instagram, boom, they're at the top of your story views. You hear a song, and somehow it's telling your story, even though you've never even shared it together. Coincidence? Maybe. But when it keeps happening, when the timing is weirdly perfect and it hits you emotionally every time, it gets hard to ignore. And Jung believed that emotional charge is what separates random events from synchronicity. It's your unconscious, reacting, like it's saying, hey, pay attention to this. Now slow down. Before you start thinking every crush is a cosmic soulmate, there's something important you need to know. According to Jung, what makes a connection feel intense isn't necessarily the other person. It's what they trigger, inside you. So a lot of the time, you're not really falling for them. You're falling for a version of yourself that they bring to life. That's why some connections feel instant, deep, and, let's be honest, completely chaotic. You meet someone, and suddenly your life flips upside down. You laugh more, dream more, feel more alive, but also more insecure, more exposed, more like that awkward teenager version of you thought you left behind. And deep down, part of you is screaming, what is this person doing to me? The answer: they're not doing anything. They just flipped on the light in a room you've avoided entering for years. Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life. And you will call it fate. You get what that means, right? Maybe what you're calling destiny, Archetypes, is really just a mirror showing you what still needs healing. But don't worry, that's not a bad thing. Actually, it might be the best thing that could happen to you. People who show up with that kind of force, with synchronicities and a strange sense of meaning, usually have one mission: to wake you up. Not always to stay. Sometimes just to open your eyes to something you'd never have seen on your own. That's why when the universe really wants you to meet someone, it doesn't send you a glowing angel holding a sign that says, this one's it. It sends quiet signs, repeated patterns, and that eerie gut feeling that something bigger is happening. But listen carefully, not every sign is a green light, and not every intense connection is meant to last. This is where a lot of people get it wrong. Sometimes the universe isn't saying, stay with this person, it's saying, learn from this person. And that, my friend, might be more valuable than any storybook ending. Actually, let me tell you a true story, one that might sound oddly familiar. A follower told me about a guy she met while traveling. It felt casual at first, but the second they locked eyes, she said it felt like time just paused. They talked for hours like they were picking up an old conversation. He even mentioned a book she'd just bought that week. After that, it was non-stop signs, dreams, songs, random encounters. Did they end up together? Nope. But she came out of that experience clearer than ever. She faced old wounds, changed careers, and told me he wasn't meant to stay. He was meant to wake me up, and... You know what's wild? These stories repeat themselves. Different names, different places, but the same blueprint. Someone shows up, shakes your world, and sometimes they leave. So why does this happen? In my opinion, and yeah, this is just my take, the universe isn't here to make you comfortable. It's here to make you grow. And growth usually comes wrapped in discomfort, in the form of someone who pokes your soft spots, who reflects back parts of you that you've been hiding from. Let's be honest for a second. It's not easy to accept this, because our ego craves clarity, control, guarantees. But your soul wants the truth. And the truth doesn't always come in a neat, romantic package. So if you're in the middle of something like this, if you've met someone who pulls you inward instead of outward, let me say what most people won't. Don't. Run from it, but don't cling to it either. Just observe. Notice what it's showing you. What patterns are rising to the surface? What parts of you are being stirred awake? What old wounds are showing up again? Because when the universe wants you to meet someone, the biggest sign isn't the intensity of the passion. It's the intensity of the self-awareness that person sparks in you. Synchronicity is just the door. What you choose to do once you walk through it, that's where the real transformation happens. And trust me when I say this, people who come into your life with that kind of energy, they're not just anyone. They're mirrors. Not to reflect your good hair day or your wit, but to reveal the parts of you that you've been too afraid to look at. So here's the final question, and maybe the most important one of all. What if that person you can't stop thinking about didn't come to be your partner but came to show you who you really are? Think about that. Maybe the love that changed you the most was never really about them. Maybe it was always about you. Now, tell me this, what part of you did they reflect back? Drop it in the comments, I'd really love to know.